Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Rob in the chat. This is our first try at a proper stream since the move. I have done an impromptu one just to test things were working. But yeah, this is see if the internet works. See if my chat highlighting works. Should have a new chat highlight dongle, but I can't see it. Morning, everyone. It says I need to hover over the right side of a chat message to see a thumbtack icon. Can't see it. It's not there. Ah, well, I tried. I'll come back to that another time. Hello, this is a stream we normally do every other Wednesday. And it is a playtesting and feedback stream based on games submitted by donors, patrons, people that support this channel. I do a open stream nearly every week. Closed that down a little bit over Christmas, but yeah, this one is every other week, and this is just kind of so that people who support the channel can get a little bonus. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games to look at. And we had Iterum submitted. I looked at that last month, so I'm going to leave that until next month, just because if we look at the same game every month, we don't see loads of progress. So if it's a busier month, I will tend to do that and like push a game back if it's one we've seen recently. I've got all these games downloaded, but not necessarily installed and ready to go. Let's have a look at what we've got here. Echo Extract will do first. And I know the person who's made Smash Dash, whatever it's called, asked to be last. So Echo Extract is an empty folder. Let me download that one more time and see what happens. Hope everyone is having a good time if you are already on some sort of break. It's not Wednesday for Tim yet. Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, Tim's ahead of us. Morning, Roger. Your download is busted, Echo Extract, unfortunately. Don't know if the Echo Extract dev is in the chat, but this is... I've downloaded this 3 times. Is there a web build? It's a shame. I was looking forward to this because the description of the game sounded really interesting. One more try. Ooh, here we go. Nope. Busted. So, what do we learn? This is a extraction beat 'em up, which I think is a really neat idea. But yeah, I can't play it today because the itch download is busted, which is a shame because this looks very charming. Look at him go. He's got a Buster Sword. Yeah, that looks really neat, but well, that was way louder for me than you guys. That was so loud on my end. Okay, so we're one game down because Echo Extract doesn't work on itch. Let's check out Mothkeeper Mansion then. And then I'm going to be back on this evening doing a update on my game and basically just going through all of the feedback and working out how to Trello it. So it will be sort of somewhat educational. It'll be an update on the game for people who care about the game, and for everyone else it'll be a sort of production workshop, I guess. I like the idea of being a djinn. I'm very annoyed I can't get this chat highlight to work. Right, okay, so this is Mothkeeper Mansion. Excellent. Abel's in the chat. Let's check it out. So I didn't look at I will controller and keyboard and mouse supported. Okay, that's all we can see there. I'll use the controller. We're running with L2. We're cutting with R2. Collect that. That feels pretty nice. The all of this kind of Victorian typography and stuff. And if you've ever played a card game called Gloom, the style of the illustration and the typography is really giving me Gloom vibes. What's that? Is it an egg? I thought it was a piece of furniture and then I picked it up and it looked like an egg. I'm just going to turn the sound up on the stream so you can hear the music, because it's kind of quiet. So we've got like a little, we've got a, like a, what's it called? Like an ideal hit point in that little animation where it does that little sparkle. What I like to see here is so much of this is kind of like everything is polished in the right place for the stage it's at. You can see there's a big grey box environment with all this placeholder art in, but ultimately this is a game about the art style and moving the character around. So we've got all of the basic character interactions already quite polished, which I think is quite important for this sort of game. If you watch, what's his face? The guy that does that Accelerate Your Game channel, he did a, can't remember his name, sorry, did a really good video about what parts of a prototype you should polish. And it was kind of like showing that cannon head game and talking about, okay, if you're making a game that's like a very character-driven game, then polish that bit early so that you can work out what the character is and how they move and everything, and build everything else around it. I also really like this concept of using the moths as the guidance in the UX. So over here we've got a cloud of moths, and if I get close to them, they turn into a little arrow and point to the next thing that I'm supposed to be interacting with. And I've also got a little moth that follows me around and highlights what my interact button is going to. You know, this is great. It's like a really nice use of the theme of it being like a sort of mysterious, spooky, moth-themed game, I guess. Didn't read what that was, but I'm sure it's just a seed that we need. Oh, I see. So are these... Are these just sort of like placeholder object sprites kind of thing? There's one of them there. This is what is happening at the, like, home mansion in Darkest Dungeon while everyone else is out murdering things. I mean, I wouldn't call it placeholder art either. I think it's art that is in development. And that's the thing, is that art is iterative, just like code is iterative. And I think you work out the things in your game that are really important. You work out the art style for those, and like the relative size of everything. In this case, the line weight, all of that stuff is something you go through a process of working out how it works in that game. And yeah, I think people who are scared to try to do the art bit of their game themselves often don't understand that it's just as much an iterative process as writing and refactoring code is. Like, placeholder should be just blocks or something that is so obviously placeholder. This is, wouldn't consider this placeholder. I would consider this a stage in the development of an art style. Like first pass. Looks great. I've watered this. Can I put it somewhere? I'm just a kawaii little gender ambiguous Oscar Wilde person with their favourite plant hanging out. One thing that would be really nice in this in the long term, this is totally not this stage of the game, right? This is like end game polish. But can you imagine if, as you walked through these places, these gaps between the walls had like creepy crawlies in them and stuff, and you could see down through them? Or they just had like a black space in between the boards with like little illustrated bugs or whatever crawling around, or moths flapping around in the space as you walk past it. That would be really cool. So I don't really know if there's much else I'm supposed to do here. I've got a plant, I've watered it. I love that little indicator on the bucket as well that sort of lets us know how many pores it's got left in it. There's a lot of good UX design here where you're sort of, there we go, we place it in the little garden. And then go to bed. Oh, look. Look how different it feels just from that sky change as well. Yeah, you can get a lot of mileage in this out of just changing all the sort of ambient colours and everything. I love the way that the depth is handled in this as well. It's really, really sweet. The moth is like a... It's kind of like a pointer. So when you can interact with something, the moth flies over it. Wait, are these eggies? I couldn't tell if they were sort of placeholder objects because they're so plain. But maybe they're eggies. Ah. We got any money? I don't think we have any money, do we? No. I'm gonna take this and water it. Eggy. Huh? Oh, there's something strange happening there. Broke. Is the stream still working for anyone on Twitch? Someone just said it was broke. Good. That's good. Yeah, Streamlabs doesn't do a very good job of informing me when something is broken or not, so... Oh yeah, broke that way. That's okay. Curse multiple use words. This is great. There's like a lot of little things I could imagine working as little bits of busy work, which is what this kind of game usually involves, you know, like cleaning cobwebs and stuff like that. Or you could have like paintings on the wall that you just occasionally need to adjust because they go wonky and stuff like that. Valuable shimmering dust? Ah. We've got some valuable shimmering dust. Hello, Oscar. I'm going to put this eggie on here. Hello, Oscar. Can I water you? Why can't I water Oscar? Why do you look so scared, Oscar? It says that Oscar requires herb. This is a game where you get a baby out of an egg and then you give it weed. See? The context clue says Oscar requires herb. Time to sleep. Is he gonna grow? Oscar, what are you doing? What are you doing, Oscar? I thought I had to, oh no, I can get some dust. Let's go. Oh, Oscar. Why are you following me around? You can't have any water. The game won't let me give you any water. Do you want to go in this pot? YouTube is hiding the money. Always the way. They hide the membership money. They hide the thing under the icon. This is great. I'm going to have to move on to the next one, but this is feeling very, very like polished in the right places already. And you've done a lot of work on the kind of mood and the just general style of it. And I really, really like that you've basically already got a UI style that feels kind of close to finished. It's reminding me a lot of Gloom. It's reminding me a little bit of Don't Starve. It's got that kind of He Who Shall Not Be Named Coraline type vibe to it as well. Very, very charming. And there's so many things in this kind of setting that just present themselves as like obvious little tasks that you could have to do in a Victorian mansion that just emerge out of the theme, which is great. And I think there's something quite interesting about this camera as well, because this is the type of camera that will be quite annoying in an action game where you need constant reaction, chance of reacting to stuff going on that's a danger. But because we're not in danger, you can sort of do this thing where, I come down from the bedroom, I'm on this layer of the game, and I don't actually know what's on this layer yet or what's on the layer below because I can't see there, and I have to go and check it out to see what's there. And that could be annoying in certain contexts, but I think it's quite good here because if I walk down the stairs, I find an egg. I don't get to see the egg until I've walked down the stairs. I think you can play around with that quite a bit. If you have every so often something really surprising down here and you don't see it until you've come downstairs, right? So you can start playing around with what this camera gives you in terms of creating surprise for the player, and I think that's quite an interesting thing to explore. I'm too tired to pick up an egg. Don't you hate it when you're too tired to pick up an egg? Oh, sorry, I didn't see the message about spawning a moth in. That's alright, we'll move in. Move on. In the realm of quiet fates. Up next. Scary Shark Face. A dark, text-driven fantasy RPG about survival and memory. The game unfolds through cryptic prose and sudden encounters. Combat is brutal, resources are few, the world does not explain itself, and it does not care if you understand it. This is a short, focused experience made for the iJam, Eldritch Horror Game Jam. Okay. Meant to be finished in a single sitting. I don't know if we'll do that, just because I have a hard stop at 12 my time, but we'll see. In the realm of quiet fates, the cursor is a little hand. We love to see it. I think if people want to see Oscar turn into a full moth, they'll have to play the game. The path to paradise begins in hell. Awaken. The boy awoke upon the cold earth, sprawled beside a fire that crackled too ferociously for any mortal hand to have built it. Around him stretched a clearing, carved into a forest, its shadows swallowing the dim moonlight. Hold your breath. He remembered nothing of his arrival, the cold embrace of the sea closing over him, the taste of salt, then darkness, then this. Look around. By his side lay a satchel filled with offerings, mushrooms freshly picked, some travelling bread, and a little knife, more rust than iron. When he rose, he saw it torn thin as a needle pressed into the skin of the night sky. Its crown lost in mist, no lantern burned in its height, yet it seemed to watch him. Gaze in awe. He walked towards it, as all lost souls must. Continue forward. The boy brushed aside the blackened pines and stepped into an encounter he was not prepared for. Continue forward. A small creature hunched over a meager fire, turning a stiffened rat while muttering to itself. Its eyes snapped to him, pale and hungry. Hold your breath. With a sudden motion, it seized the skewer and lunged, not from malice, but instinct. It's that guy. There. It's okay. You don't need to poke me with a stick. We can be friends. Let me stroke your sharky goblin head. Okay, we're doing some sort of Yahtzee type thing, I think. Very hard to make dice rolls make sense on this kind of thing unless you're showing them moving around and everything. Okay. Goblin's gonna attack. We're gonna defend. Do I... One of the problems with this is because we don't have a highlight and there's not a clear point. There's a reason why these hand cursors are usually pointing or doing that, because this hand shape doesn't give a clear point that is the actual pixel that we're clicking on. So I sort of have to guess quite a bit about where I'm focusing that. So I can't really see what I can interact with here. It just feels kind of random because I think I'm supposed to be able to pick up the die and put them underneath these to show how I'm going to respond to each thing, but I can't. Yeah, there we go. So I click on it and it goes into my hand and then I put it up there. Gotcha. But the point of the hand that is the cursor is very unclear. I've tried pressing the keys and it wasn't working. Yeah, DNA aren't doing anything. There doesn't seem to be any penalty for attacking when they're attacking as well, which makes this combat system feel a bit strange. Sometimes it tells me what they're doing and sometimes it doesn't, and I don't understand what is deciding that. Now it's just going to make us go click through all that text again. Or it's not, it's going to get broken. That's what happens if you die and restart. I think this is was probably too ambitious for a jam game. So we've got like a visual novel and a combat minigame, and we also can't click to skip through this text, so you have to wait for it to animate every time. Again, I understand it's a jam game, but it feels like because we've tried to do too much, we've got broken stuff. Right, I'll try the combat one more time, but... Coin toss tails, a goblin goes first, die roll defend, die roll no action, die roll attack. Okay, so that's the cue of what just happened. The goblin is going to attack every turn. So I really think if you've got an attack and you use it against an attack, that should make you more vulnerable to taking more damage, because otherwise there's not really a choice here. You may as well just attack because there's no penalty for doing it. I think this could be the basis of a good combat system, but there are too many not very interesting turns. Matching the defense to the attack and then putting the attack everywhere else. I also think if you're going for like Eldritch Dark Fantasy, don't call the dude a goblin, because this visual design is pretty cool, right? This visual design is like, kind of, what the hell is that? And then we've just called it a goblin, which takes away a little bit of the terror of what is this thing. I do not understand why sometimes it shows me what they're going to do and sometimes it doesn't. Maybe it just alternates each time, but it's not very clear. The boy hunched over the fallen creature covered with its black blood. Next to the corpse lay some mushrooms, but there is no rest here, no pause for reflection. This place does not grant such mercy. A growl echoed through the shadows behind a gnarled tree. His heart stuttered. His breath retreated to a whisper. It emerged a gnoll, hulking and ragged, grabbing a thick tree. Okay. So we're basically just doing a kind of Slay the Spire challenge tower, but with some spoopy description between stuff. I really think, just from a creative point of view, if you're trying to do this very dark fantasy thing, using very tropey fantasy names like Goblin and Gnoll is a misstep, because it just... The whole point of Lovecraftian fantasy is you don't know what things are called, right? And that's why it works so well as a text-based thing, because you just you sort of half describe the thing, and then the person that is happening in the person's head, and they're like, what the hell is that? You put a name on it and call it like a Boba Goblin or whatever, and it sort of takes that away. Yeah, kind of, that's a good effort. I think it's very cohesive overall, like creatively. It's like Escape from the... Is it Dark Castle? Kind of, it's got that vibe. This kind of black and white fantasy role-playing game vibe. But yeah, if you want it to be scary, don't name stuff so much. And if you want it to be tactical, give us some interesting trade-offs, because I was playing, it was just the decision making wasn't really decision making, it was just pattern matching. So they had an attack, so I played a defense, and then if I had attacks to play, it didn't matter where I played them after that. Whereas if you decided that if you play an attack versus another attack, you're more vulnerable, so you take more damage, but they also take more damage, or something like that, there would be a trade-off to think about. But there wasn't anything like that. So yeah, have a think about that, because half of your game is that part, and it needs to not just be rolling dice at each other. Workers' Comp is a cooperative immersive sim about saving facilities in the midst of a disaster. So this is playable as a single player game, as far as I can tell. So we're going to just kind of see how it works, and get an idea of what that is. Unzip that here. We really do, in the new year, need to work out a workflow for organizing playtests for people's multiplayer games. I don't want to do it for everyone. I don't want to do it as a public thing, but we have a few folks in the Indie Game Clinic Discord now who are working on multiplayer games, and I want us to do that and stream it, because I think it would be a fun thing to do. I think it's a fun thing for people to have as a sort of potential bonus of being in the community. So we should do that with Clomper. We should do it with Lawyer, or Lawyer, which I still haven't remembered the proper name for. We're going to just host a game. My Lonely Poo Game. I can only do friends only, so I definitely going to be on my own. See if it works. Looks like it's working. Lovely little hammer. It's hammer time. So I've got a shift run. I've got a control crouch. There's a little bit of a... I'm not sure why crouching is so slow. Feels like maybe there's a character animation and we're mapping it onto that rather than, what feels good in first person. Love this art style. Very sort of TF2. And I guess we're going to be whacking stuff with the hammer to fix it. Start game button. Went to the grey void. This is the game being in a grey void. There we go. Just going to fix this plant. That's what I look like down there. Wonderful. Snackies. You need to do that thing. You need to do that thing where you draw the in-hand object on a different layer of the screen space, so that you don't get this clipping. I don't know how you achieve that in your engine, but that's how it's usually done, so that the object that we see is really just drawn onto the player's screen rather than existing directly in the world like that. Well, we'll follow the alarm, I guess. Half-Life 3 confirmed. This is a missed opportunity as well, because you've got a lovely big red button. It would be great to be able to donk it with the hammer. Okay. Nothing I can do down here. Let's go back. I think we will have stuff to hit. I think it's going to be like Team Fortress, where you just sort of whack stuff with the tool to fix it. But yeah, we just haven't found anything to hit. But I do also think that with whacking the big red buttons on the... would be a fun way of using that in another way. So are these lights and alarms supposed to be alerting us to where the next thing to fix is? Because the last one didn't take us anywhere. Ah, here we go. Something to fix. I love unpaid overtime. Is there a fire extinguisher around here somewhere? Where'd you keep the fire extinguisher, folks? I really want to be able to see what the robots look like. I know I can only see myself from as a shadow. I really want to be able to see the other robots. Fire, goodbye. Here we go. So just for the record, we are now using right click to activate the thing in our left hand and left click to activate the thing in our right hand, which feels kind of unintuitive. I understand where it's coming from because the hammer is always in your hand, so it's the primary, but it does feel a little bit unintuitive. Uh-oh. That seems bad. Guys, that's not fire. I'm going to take this to safety. Yeah, I can see this being... there being a lot of mayhem you can cause in this game. Can I go in that? It looks like I should be able to, but I don't know how. Safety first, guys. Safety first. I'm just trying to return this beverage to the vending machine it's fallen out of. I'll have to put it here. That's not my job anyway. That's the janitor's job. Janitor, can we have a janitor to the security area? We need the vending machine restocked with this new fizzy green beverage. What's that? That's another gravity gun, okay. Oh, it is a multiplayer game. I'm just not testing it multiplayer. There we go. That's better. I think that's where they're supposed to go. Let's go up here. Take a break. I will. Just taking a break. Hope everyone's enjoying their break. Yeah, I think we need more things we can accidentally bust. Right, I haven't actually found anything I need to fix with my hammer yet. The time to hammer fixing is too slow. Here we go. Here's something to fix. This looks bad. That feels pretty great. Love the sound design in this. I've turned the sound down a bit because the alarm is a little bit grating, but the sound design for fixing things and sort of them the little kind of success sound. There are a lot of objects in this that look like they should be more relevant than they are, and I think some of it is down to the colours of things. Like lots of kind of red things that look like they should be kind of more important than they are. And I don't know if this is like using an asset pack or if the developer is working on the art, but I would think about, as you watch other people playtest this, think about which objects people seem to try to interact with, because this looks kind of like it should be interactable. This does as well. I don't think they are, and that might be something to think about. And if there's an easy way to sort of texture paint the assets you've got so that you take away some of the red and some of the attention drawing stuff, that will solve a big potential UX problem in this game. That said, cooperative sort of mayhem games, certain UX problems are good to have in those kind of games because they create the opportunity for players to like get it wrong and laugh at each other, which can be a good thing, but it really depends. Right. But yeah, there's lots of things that have red lights or big red things on them that sort of draw the attention and make you think you're supposed to be doing something when maybe you're not. See, look. I think we're just supposed to go into the room, interact with the broken thing, and then leave. I don't think there's anything more complicated than that. Feels strange to have vents that we can't do anything with. But I mean, the hammer itself is reasonably intuitive because a lot of us have played Team Fortress or Overwatch or whatever and found a game that that has that. We've got a scanner now that's going to tell us where something broken is. That's good. I'm going to try this one more time because I want to get the scanner and then use it to try and understand the level a little bit. And that's an example of a room where you've got a big red button, which is really important, but there's quite a lot of other things grabbing your attention, so the big red buttonness of the big red button doesn't make as much difference as it should. Maybe sticking a red light on the button so it looks more deliberate could be helpful in that context. It looks great though. I think you just need to pay attention. Oh no, this doesn't go anywhere, does it? I've gone the wrong way again. It's because there's a big flashing red light next to it, so it makes me think I need to go and fix something there, but the reactor wouldn't open for me last time. Snack. Reactor offices. So is it the depot that has all of the tools in? I don't think we can have a game where that alarm is sounding the entire time. I think maybe there's something that you do that stops the alarm, but I think having that as an ambient sound throughout the entire game is a good way to really, you know, make a game that is quite grating on people. Ah, something to fix. Yeah. So you can see how this would work with... Ah, look, there's loads of things to fix. I didn't see them all before. Why has that got a highlight on it? Those things that can be broken? Done a really good job of... The sound selection for whacking things and fixing them has it's like a really pleasing sound. It's not like an aggressive whacking sound, which works quite well when it's the core thing you're supposed to be doing over and over again. Sort of like a rubber mallet cartoon softy soft sound. I think that's fixed. I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure how the scanner works. So it seems to highlight things that could be broken, and then you have to go and see them to see if they are actually broken. Yeah, I think having a wrench instead of a hammer is going to save you a little bit of initial confusion, because all of the games where you whack something with something to fix it, it is a wrench rather than a hammer. That's what it is in Team Fortress. That's what it is in Overwatch. Don't know if anyone else ever played Guns of Icarus. That was a really good online co-op game where you were sort of piloting a steampunk airship together. And that had some really, really funny moments in it of, like, you know that the ship's going down and you can't really save it and you're running around putting out fires. And I mean, it was Sea of Thieves, but the steampunk in the air edition of Sea of Thieves, effectively. Same vibe. Yeah, I think wrench is more universally understood to be the universal fixing things tool in these games rather than a hammer. And then if you did that, it opens up space for the hammer to then be a destroying things tool, right? Like, if we wanted a way to create a shortcut through here, we could then have the hammer as the tool that does that. But I think having a wrench instead of a hammer is going to just create a shortcut for people, mental shortcut. It's just lots of games that use that already. Don't really know what I can do about this. It seems to be a hazard of some sort. Maybe we're supposed to take them to the reactor or something. Also a bit of a shame to have a gravity gun that only interacts with a very small set of things. Like, we can't pick up these water barrels or anything with the gravity gun. So that feels both unintuitive and not very fun. So we've got a scanner, a gravity gun, and a fire extinguisher. This game looks lovely. Most of the interactions feel nice already. I think there's just going to be a few things where you can make it easier to understand. Right, we've got a task board here. Repair cracks, put out fires, replace pipes. Okay, so we've found and done some of all of those. I love this. I love this sort of like 70s sci-fi, using these lines to sort of show what's at different places. It allows the players to learn the names of places and then call them out to each other like they do in Among Us. That's good. But yeah, you absolutely cannot have that klaxon sounding for the entire game. That's just very, very abrasive. You could see, can you imagine this with more people as well? Like trying to clear this and people are getting in the way and stuff. That's going to be quite funny. Oh, hello. That looks not good. I got a tooltip on the valves, did I? I'll have a look in a minute when I go back there. So that, is that the reactor? Is that the bit that you can't get in? That was fun. Okay, this room seems pretty much fixed and repaired. Still getting those things telling me to telling me to interact with them, but face plug. Security is locked. The reactor we can't go into, I don't think. This is just a break area up the stairs. Let's try the core one more time and then I think we're done here for the day. I really like the art style. I think this is really kind of priming you for it being a goofy, chaotic game. This sort of... yeah, there's some unintuitive stuff here, and there's opportunities for fun that I think could be developed further later on. Like having the gravity gun very limited in what it can interact with isn't very fun. And you could think about interactions with the fire extinguisher that aren't just putting out exactly the fires that are there, and have other types of interactions like using it in the wrong place, or causing electrical problems and stuff like that. And yeah, I think a hammer, like a lot of people in the chat were saying that the hammer just sort of immediately makes you think it's for breaking things. And I just think a wrench is a much clearer established trope of like whacking something with the wrench and it healing or repairing is just much more established in games. Because a hammer, I should be able to go in there. Want to go in there? Can't. Yeah, it's a PvE, so it's just the players working together to fix stuff. Let's see if Atomic Lance is going to work. Last time I tried to play this wasn't the first time, but we didn't get anywhere because I was locked on the start screen. We're not doing the tutorial this time. I just have to...
Main system activating combat mode.
Amazing. Good start.
Main system activating combat mode.
Jump, boost. Okay, so the weapons are all of the shoulder buttons. Jump is A. Boost is clicking the left stick. I think that's why I can't fly forward, because I need to... Flying forward doesn't seem to do anything. Let's just quit out and see if I do the tutorial, if it unsticks it, because just moving... I seem to be able to do everything apart from move forward. what we'll do, if I delete that and re-extract it, will it allow us to choose the tutorial again? No. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a similar problem to what I had last time. I just can't move off of the starting point.
Main system activating combat mode.
Oh no, there we go. That's alright. If you... Yeah, you do get stuck on the train if you let them fall to the ground. I don't know why that's happening. What is that lock-on showing? Okay. That feels great. So, if I press A, I boost up in the air. If I press X, I do like a boost forward, but it has a little bit of a delay, which feels quite nice. Yeah, the lock-on is automatic. You can see when it's highlighted. The level design is feeling great. Because, like, the first time I played this, it was like a kind of rooftops map. And this is much more everything is destroyed type thing. I mean, you can do both of those, right? But you can get quite a lot of variety in this kind of game out of, like, how irregular you make things. Like a map that's very geometric and clean and everything is 90 degrees. And then another map like this where everything is broken and higgledy-piggledy. Yeah, it feels really fun to just move around in this. You have kind of like free movement, but you're doing management of your core, like heat, which sort of puts a soft limit on what you can do. What is this? Am I supposed to blow this up? Let's try a different loadout. If it will let us. So I do think in an alpha for a game like this, you should just let people go hog wild with the items, because we're testing the stuff. We're not necessarily testing I mean, you might feel like you're testing progression, but I think just letting people choose stuff is probably better at this stage, but... So, left hand, right hand. Right, we're not going to have a sword this time. She looks so great. I love this character. Nez in the chat, do you do this kind of live testing for games sent by all patrons or just certain tiers? All patrons. Honestly, we get about 6 to 8 submissions every 2 weeks when I do this, and sometimes less. And if there's ever too many, I'll just do it more often, so... If we get to a point where the channel is more patrons games than general public's games, then so be it, you know. It's still fundamentally the same thing, it's just more sustainable for me to do. I love it's hard to see a lot of this stuff because the graphical style is so sort of blocky. Probably hard to see it from watching it, but the feel, like the feel of going from the walking on a surface to floating and zooming around feels great. It's a really nice distinction in terms of the game feel. Yeah, I immediately feel like this is going to be more fun without the sword option, because the sword didn't feel like it was paying off. As someone in the chat said, the dash attacks need to be, like, disproportionately powerful to make up for the fact that you have to go in close to stuff, really. I think, is that turret pointing that way? Can I sneak up on it? No, I cannot sneak up on it. But I can break its line of sight this way and then go up there. Is that portaling stuff at me? That big kind of cartoon armor break sound is very funny. Oof. Right, one more run, just because it's fun. And this does have a kind of one more try quality to it, which is already a good sign. Like, I want to have another go at it. Which is, I think, one of the things you're looking for in the earlier stages of playtesting any kind of skill and failure based game is just... when people fail, do they immediately want to get back into it? So I think... so one of the challenges here is you're trying to... when there's one of these big boy turrets around, you're trying to get round the other targets so that you can target it properly. Yeah. Took one out that time. Oh, there's two of them together. Good. Yeah, thanks for joining, Nez. I try and run the Discord is sort of close to how I used to run student Discords at university, really. Like, there's channels for help with a bunch of different things. We have helper roles where people can assign themselves to be like a 3D art helper or a marketing helper or whatever, and that means that you can just tag that entire group of people, and they've signed up to be tagged. So it takes people a while to get used to that because we're not used to having those kind of roles that you can tag everyone on Discord. But we've just sort of gradually been designing the Discord to help everyone who's in it, and we're very much focused on trying to make the games we're working on better rather than focusing on the kind of business and marketing side of stuff, which so much of the discussion around game dev on YouTube and Reddit is focused on. And I think there's a problem with that because often it leads to a situation where people aren't sort of questioning whether their game is good enough yet. It's just like, hey, I made this, I need to sell it, help me. And it's like, well, that's not always the best way to think about things. It's rarely is it the best way to think about things. And the other thing I like that happens quite a lot in that group is people sort of noticing what other people are working on, and then noticing when they're working on similar things, and then kind of buddying up as people that are working in the same design space. Because, you know, someone like, you know, I try and be reasonably objective when I run these streams, but I'm still gonna have my own tastes and things that I like and don't like. So you still need to find a kind of critical friend who's working in the genres that you personally care about. Okay, do I need to read something before we play this? Dash, catch, smash. WASD for movement, left mouse button to grab and shoot, mouse to aim. Reduce the score to 0 within the time limit to win. Some walls have special effects and require an enemy to hit them to activate them. Use your enemies to kill your enemies. I read that in a completely non-linear order. Let's retry this. So I've got a kind of rock, paper, scissors thing up here that I need to remember. Squares kill circles, which kill triangles, which kill squares. And I'm supposed to use the left mouse button to grab and shoot. I like the art style of this. Everything's very visually clear. I'm struggling to see how the mouse interaction works because I'm clicking on things and there's no feedback to let me know whether my clicking on the thing is doing anything. I'm supposed to be grabbing the I get the concept of the game. I'm supposed to be grabbing the enemies and using them against each other. But the mouse just doesn't seem to be doing anything in the game. Oh. Yeah, let's see what the tutorial does. You've got to force people through a tutorial if you want people to play it. They just won't otherwise. Force people into it and then give them the option to skip it, but don't make it seem optional in the first place. Space to dash. Dash through an enemy to stun it. Ah, okay. So we aim the dash. Okay. Okay, so aiming something with the mouse and then firing it with space feels a little bit awkward compared to it being mapped to a mouse button. And I think what would feel more natural to me in this game. So we're dashing through stuff and then we're capturing it while it's stunned. And then shooting it. That's really cool. I really like that. But I think having the dash match to the right mouse button would make more sense if we don't have any other use for the right mouse button at this moment. It just simplifies the controls a fair bit. Really like the enemy designs. Very kind of clear how each one of these is going to act once you've met them a couple of times. Okay, every enemy is strong against another enemy. Cool. Love the fact that you can potentially do skill shots where you bounce two of these guys together. This is great. This is really neat. I'm mainly having a problem with targeting the dash, just because it feels so unintuitive to go from aiming with the mouse to firing with the space. Okay. This is neat. Yeah, I don't have a Fiverr page anymore. I stopped doing GDD reviews for people because I had bad experiences doing GDD reviews for people. The problem with reviewing someone's GDD is you don't know what they're actually capable of, right? So someone writing a plan for a project, which is what a GDD is, it's like only as meaningful as it is achievable for that person or their team or whatever. And I had a couple of instances of like reviewing people's GDDs, and it was like, okay, yeah, this game idea is okay and the document is okay, but I don't really know how realistic this is because I don't know who you are, you know. Whereas whenever I've, you know, worked in a studio, it's like, well, I know what I can spec into the GDD because I know what artists and programmers we've got and I know what they can do and all of that kind of stuff, you know. I worked in a studio that only made 2D games, so I wouldn't spec in anything that required a type of art or production workflow that we couldn't do, you know. Whereas when you're just looking at a stranger's game design document, it's like, well, they need, you know, I would generally advise people not to write game design documents at all until you've got a prototype of the core mechanics of a game, because it's just not helpful until you know what you can actually technically achieve. And then a game design document is for going from the pre-production stage to the production stage, right? So you make a prototype, you work out your art style, you work out the general theme of the game, and some of those can be in documents, but you don't really need a big game design document at that point. And then the game design document is like you saying, this is how we scale up this project to a bigger project. I don't think it's worth doing to like plan a prototype. The prototype should just be you in engine or paper and card, just making something. And then once you've made that and you know it's fun, then you make a document that says, okay, if we were to make this into a full game, here's how we do it. Here's how we'd make enough content. Here's how all the systems would work together. So yeah, I don't have a Fiverr anymore. I did that when I started the channel as a way of helping people with GDDs, but it wasn't it didn't feel like a cool thing to do because you just can't really accurately judge whether someone's GDD is a bunch of delusional fantasy or not without seeing a prototype of what they can make. And some people say, well, I'm going to hire someone to make this, and it's like, well, you still don't, you know, people can make different things. You're not going to find a cheap freelancer that can just make whatever you can put on paper. Okay, so square blocks. I think it would take me a while to internalize the rock, paper, scissors in this. I think a thing that could, you know, someone in the chat who was like just said about juice. I think a thing that could really make this shine as well would be like some kind of timed incentive to string things together very quickly, kind of like the kill streak thing in Diablo. I mean, you've got a time limit on the levels, but it might be more fun for people to, instead of having a harsh time limit, have it so it's like it's relatively easy to just succeed by slowly and methodically working your way through and doing the stuff. But maybe there's like a bonus for doing things really rapidly, which is what those kind of kill streak features usually achieve. They allow you to have a game that's a bit more casual, but has like a very high skill ceiling, and that's kind of how that. I can't remember what it's actually called. It's like a massacre bar or something in Diablo. It means you can have a game that doesn't actually require loads of skill to just succeed at a base level of like, can you complete the levels? But if you want to complete the levels with loads of points, you have to chain things together and be sort of optionally skillful, I guess is a way of thinking about it. And I think that could work very well here. And then if you did go down that route of having lots of score chaining and stuff, you could make the graphical effects and everything get really intense. So it's kind of visually rewarding you for, you know, climbing that combo chain, but also making the game a little bit harder because it's overwhelming you with how big the explosions are, and it's doing some sort of like bullet hell stuff. So almost automatically balancing the game by making the VFX more overwhelming the bigger you build up your score chain. That could be cool. Yeah, this is a good core though. I find it quite satisfying. It's like almost like playing pool or golf or something, but with things that are attacking you. But yeah, I would map the dash onto the right mouse so that the only thing we're doing on the keyboard is using the WASD or the arrows to move. Space feels a bit better now I've got used to it, but it just seems a shame not to use both mouse buttons when you're using the mouse to aim anyway, and the dash is directly related to the position of the reticule, which makes it feel like it should be related to a mouse button as well, if that makes sense. But that's cool. I'm liking that. I think that was dash, catch, smash, atomic lance, workers comp. Let me just see. And I think that means we do have time for Iterum. And if you're watching for the first time and you want to play any of these, they're not always public playtests, but I think most of these ones are this week. So what I will do is I'll go through the VOD on YouTube immediately after the stream, and I'll put timestamps with links to the games on so you can go and follow them. Yeah, let's check out Iterum again because we do have time today. So we saw this last month. This is like a traditional roguelike. And my main thing on this last time was it was a little bit fiddly to switch between a melee weapon and a ranged weapon. I don't have any weapon now. Bat's gonna beat me up. Yeah, I really like the kind of music and art mood of this, and the setting is interesting because it's not... It seems sort of not straight normal fantasy type thing. fire dart gun. Ah, a dung pie. Delicious. What have I got on? I've got like a little hat. So yeah, I had this thing last time where I wanted the camera out to about here so I could see more of the level, but this line filter sort of ruins it a little bit when you do that. I think there might be a better filter you can use than this. Body armor. These things explode and make poison go everywhere, so I need to not click on them. See, I seem to be clicking with a ranged weapon and then still walking up close to fight stuff, which I don't understand what's happening. Is that a potion? Emergency antitoxin. Love to collect an unstable compound. What have we got? We've got some rotten bat meat. Gonna eat it. That sound effect is pretty horrible. Unstable teleportation injector. Random teleport. So I need to find out what the attack button is, because it's going to tell me down here, surely. X is melee range mode. Okay. I've only got a ranged weapon. Yeah, so if you didn't see this one last time I played it, the structure of this is quite interesting because it's basically like you complete a dungeon and then you've got some sort of you know, power-ups and stuff you get, but you immediately teleport back to the surface, kind of like you would in a Elden Ring dungeon. And that means it doesn't have quite the massive scope of some of these old school roguelikes where it's like a fully open world, because you're just sort of doing a challenge run in a particular dungeon to get down to the bottom level and complete it, and then you're teleported back out and you choose the next thing, you know, it's, which I think is quite neat. I think making a game open world when you're not even sure why you're doing it, yeah, it's a bad move. Can we cook meat on these fires so that they become... Is that a fire? Can I cook a meat on it? I can catch fire on the fire. Rotten swap meat throw. Okay, that's expecting me to throw it at an enemy, and it doesn't work. I'm dead now. I walked through the fire. Yeah, the CRT is too... The CRT effect looks fine when you're zoomed in, but when you're zoomed right out, which I think you need to do to be able to see more of the dungeon, the CRT effect spoils it a little bit. I think there might just be a better effect than this, with a bit of bloom or something. That's not quite such harsh black bars. Because it's sort of interfering with the black line work of the actual sprites. Do we have a way to turn it off? Is there a... Sorry, it does this every time I... No. It'd be good to just have a way to turn it off in an options menu, because I think once we're zoomed out, it just spoils the visibility too much. So yeah, you have an overworld with these locks, and then... Oh, I've got stuck. Esc is help. Tab and enter is fire mode. Don't think that works very well when, because I'm clicking around with the mouse, so then if I have to switch to pressing two buttons at once to do something on the keyboard. Okay. That lets you switch between range mode and... Haha, the rat killed itself in the poison thing. I love that we got those little squash and stretch animations when the characters do stuff as well. I think that's a really nice kind of modernization of this whole trad roguelike presentation style. You can move with keyboard, yeah, but I'm preferring to click. So because I've got the option to click and it's got me used to clicking, it then feels weird to have a... Oh, I need to press two things together on the keyboard to do changing firing mode or whatever, which seems like it's would be a relatively common action. I mean, I don't have any weapons at all in this. Ooh, regenerating slime on the floor this time. That was good. Yeah, the character changes visually when you put stuff on as well, which is nice. I'm gonna eat my chunk of bread. Oh, I wasted that because I already had 100 health. I'm so used to not ever healing in this game that I just assumed I didn't have full health, but I just healed from that stuff on the floor. Uh-oh. He's guarding his syringe. I think one of the things I really like about this, I talked about this last time, but it doesn't feel like generic fantasy. It feels like a specific kind of 80s dark fantasy, like Dark Crystal, or there is a Is it Red Sun? Dark Sun? Yeah, this D&D setting from the 90s, which is like Mad Max crossed with trad fantasy. You know, like what if you had a hot desert apocalypse, but it was on a fantasy planet that wasn't a modern planet, you know? That's kind of what this is, and I think that's the vibe I get from this. The fact you've got like dark guns, you've got these guys that look like they have four eyes and are maybe bugs or mutants or something, but the pixel art is quite evocative and it doesn't fill in all the gaps for us, so it really plays quite well with the alienness of this world and some of these objects as well. Like, what is this? Like, I don't know, but that's good. It's playing around with the ambiguity of the pixel art in a really pleasing way. And I think that is an interesting thing to think about. If you're using some sort of art style, doesn't necessarily have to be pixel art, but some sort of art style where things aren't totally clear, what can that add for you in terms of like making some stuff ambiguous in your world building so that it feels mysterious and interesting? And again, there's lots of things in this game that could have been a green goblin, and we haven't gone down that route, and it makes it so much more intriguing and like you want to learn about it because of that. Whereas if we compare it to that kind of Lovecraftian jam game earlier, it's like calling things goblins and stuff like that. There's a place for that, but I think the place for it is when you want to make something very light that you don't want people to take very seriously. Like if you're making a, you know, almost like a Clash of Clans family colourful fantasy game, then you want all the standard stuff that people recognise, like a slime and a goblin and a skeleton and stuff. But I think if you want people to get a little bit more immersed and a little bit more engaged, then having a bit more of a mystery about the places and the creatures and stuff like that can be good because it draws you in. It's one of the things I like about FromSoft games is they have their own take on everything, and like even, you know, Elden Ring, you have demi-humans instead of goblins, and they are like apes with swords. They're kind of, it's a really weird take on it. Their take on slimes is always interesting and strange as well. So you can do the tropes and do them in an interesting way. Like Darkest Dungeon does that as well. They have pigmen instead of orcs. They have have I got a thing I can put on there, or did I put it already up? I'm gonna use this injector. They have a really interesting take on vampires in Darkest Dungeon in their world building. Very gross and unusual. Just take all the injectors straight away. I like the unstable teleportation. Uh-oh. I unstable teleported myself into a room that has some fire. Yeah, the vampires in Darkest Dungeon are, instead of being associated with bats as a like vampiric animal, they're associated with mosquitoes, and they have like, they're sort of Edwardian and have like all of this binary on, but then they have like a big proboscis for drinking blood, and they have, you know, big giant mosquitoes that fly around with them and stuff. It's really, really gross, and it's a cool take on that. I think that's a really good way of approaching fantasy. I think a lot of it depends on the type of game and how the game expects you to think as well. Like, I didn't get on very well with the character and monster design in Slay the Spire, because it just felt like kind of Adventure Time with the numbers shaved off. But then I realized after a while that it kind of is, it's almost necessary, because you've got all of these different enemies that have their different stuff to learn, and the game doesn't want you to make too many assumptions about how certain things work or behave. So by making all of the enemy designs relatively unique, you can't really go in with an assumption of like, oh, this is a skeleton, so therefore X, or this is I mean, they have slimes, I guess, but even then they have their own kind of special rules of how they split in half and everything. I think having a stranger set of monster designs can sort of indicate to the player that they need to think about the world and how it operates rather than taking any of it for granted. I'm going to die in a minute. I don't know if it's got harder or if I've just been talking more, because the first time I played this we managed to finish a couple of dungeons. But I've also not had a good run here in terms of finding weapons. I seem to be stuck. Right, I'm going to wrap this up in a moment, folks. I'm going to be back on in about 7 hours, so evening my time, to just do an update on my game. And what I'll be doing is going through a bunch of the feedback and putting it on Trello. So, I had an alpha of this release on the 12th, I think it was. We've got a Discord server for that. And we've been collecting bug reports. Gleb, the programmer who's working with me, has already fixed a bunch of stuff. And then, yeah, what I'll be doing tonight is just going through the feedback and trying to work out, I guess, put it in categories and put it on a Trello board. Some of the stuff is stuff I was already aware of or things that I already had plans to do something about, and some of it is new stuff. So I'll be doing that. So if people want to update on the game, come back in 7 hours. It'll be 7 p.m. GMT time. I'll be doing that for a couple of hours. And it'll be an update on the game for people that are interested in the game, and for people who are just more interested in game dev, it might give you some ideas of like how to handle that stage of your project once you've collected some feedback from players. Rob, you did a video on that recently, didn't you? I think I might even link it in the VOD here, because I think that was a very good video on that thing. When was that? It was... I can't remember which one it is. But you did like a very good video about like how you run an alpha and how you sort of set up the forms and stuff for it. I liked that one. Right, folks. Thank you for joining. If you're in the Discord, remember, if you're in the Discord and you're new, remember the form for this specific stream that we've just done is in the playtesting and QA channel. It's pinned there, and you can submit your games there. I try and cover all the ones that are submitted. I usually put a game to the back of the queue, like we did with Iterum this time, if it was seen last time, so that we don't, just look at the same game every 2 weeks, or don't prioritize doing that anyway. Thank you all, folks, and I'll see some of you later. Have a good holiday season, however you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate, I hope you got